Hi.
Sorry,
I can't hear either, so that makes two of us. But good afternoon.
Hi. Hear me?
And
Joking.
so, and Renee is, I think, there, she wasn't.
Yeah.
But she's always in Baltimore. Right? I say Maryland, maybe it's Baltimore though, right?
No, Maryland.
Maryland.
No, but I will.
You're closer to Baltimore than we are right now, though.
Okay.
Kind of close to DC.
Wait, hello, good afternoon, everybody. I'll call the meeting to order. And first of all, I'll say thank you for attending. I know it's a beautiful day outside and wonderful. We'd much rather be out on one of the quadrangles. But it's just hard with the tech and the visuals to get out there. But I'm going to try and keep the meeting moving quickly so we can enjoy the balance of the day. And we're back here for the first meeting this year. And hope everybody had a good summer. I know the academic year is on its way, and we have 3 guest students here observing, and one is working, and 2 are moral support. I don't get it, but I hope that you have fun. And if you want to talk a little bit after, I'd be glad to, because I love to talk. And captive audience, I'll lock the door and you're stuck with me. But so welcome, glad you're here. We have a student representative. He's not here.
Yeah.
But he's going to be here, right?
We hope.
Now, so I don't hold, when I saw, this is something that you can take away for the rest of your life. It's one of these things I've learned that when people come late to meetings, they always make people like myself, who generally comes late, look good. So you should not be critical of them. And, when somebody is really off, just, gives you an opportunity to feel good about yourself.
You're never
So,
late.
there's the same facts. It's merely the way you perceive them. And that's about everything in life.
One here.
So, but we have a new student member, which there is a voting representative of the council, but they're not here. But, and it's Zav Morel. Yes, and he's probably
Senior business student, really.
probably working. Okay, but if he comes, he'll come late. Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay.
He was planning. So it's-
First thing, the minutes went out, and I think there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we have a quorum. So are there any additions, deletions, or corrections of the minutes? If not, I invite a motion.
Excuse me.
I moved
Okay.
to.
Julie moves to accept.
Okay,
4,
2,
we might
3.
have to hold off on the minutes. It'll be 5.
My preliminary count is off,
So we'll come back to.
so.
We can come back to.
So we'll come back again, I think in November. And, but there was nothing of any moment in the minutes that have to be reaffirmed, okay? And there's a Scott Klein here.
Hi,
Hi, Scott.
how are you?
You're former Air Force, huh?
That's true.
I'm a Navy vet, but that's like, and I'm a, what is it? What they call them? I'm like a, combat vet. I'm so old, I'm a Vietnam vet.
Nice.
Okay, and I.
Congratulations.
It's a pleasure and something for the young students to serve your country. There's nothing like it. But it is, not only do you get people from all around the country, sometimes around the world, but then later for the rest of your life, you have some ownership interest in America.
We have
And
3 minutes.
there's no place like it. And it's, I didn't want to go. I was the draft person. And so I joined the Navy.
There he is.
Hello, hey, you make everybody look good. And you don't even know why. You make us all look good. I'm late, so you, everybody else is better. I'm Eli Bosch. I'm up here.
Xavier.
And Zob, how you doing, Zob?
Doing good.
Welcome, you're a voting member and you came in good timing. It's dramatic entrance, which is always helpful. And we're just beginning the meeting, so welcome. And I'm going to ask you, I don't know, you weren't here for the meeting or for the minutes last year, but we're going to have you do something official. And that's, I'm going to have you proofread the minutes and then you're going to vote to approve along with everybody else.
Awesome.
Because we're going to adopt them. Okay, yeah. And let's see, Zob is a 3rd year, that would be a junior here, is that correct? Here.
Here.
Do it now.
Oh.
Look, he said, go.
Me back.
This was printed up yesterday. You were a junior, so. Congratulations. And I'm a lawyer and I'm in the mistake business. If there's no mistakes, I would never have any business. So that's all things are good. And you're from New Windsor
Mhm.
and you're majoring in finance. Good, good. So you're on the business program.
Mhm.
And think, how are things going?
It's been busy. It's busy.
Ooh, well, it's out of the blocks.
Yeah.
And that's good. And, just try and stay ahead of it. That's all. That's not easy sometimes because a lot of distractions here on campus, especially when the weather is so beautiful. And so we have the minutes. I know you weren't here for them, but we would welcome your participation in approving them. So do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion to approve it.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Approved.
Oh,
Approved. Thank you. All right. Now we have Scott. Now we're doing the introductions. So Scott is the Assistant Vice President of Facilities Management. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Scott, and then we'll go around the room and you'll hear from everybody.
Sure. I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Oklahoma State University. So just after that, joined the Air Force, and then spent 23 years doing that work. The work there was facilities management style, so building new buildings and maintaining the old ones, leading people to do all of that. So had a really good time doing that. After that career ended, looking for the next adventure. And so service, as you talked about, service has been a big part of my life, and I wanted to continue serving in the higher ed world. And that brought me here to New Paltz. So I'm really glad to be part of this family.
And now, do you hail from the Mid-Hudson Valley, or were you a military family where you went hopscotching all over, or where do you come from?
So I grew
You
up,
call home New Paltz, but before that.
oh yeah, home is where I park the car at night. So grew up outside St. Louis, so Midwestern by nature. My wife is from outside Minneapolis on the Wisconsin side. And so we have fallen in love with this place, this area. So this is where we are.
And it says, let's see, you started here last month. You hit the sweet spot.
I did, absolutely.
We do get rain occasionally and some clouds, beautiful fall, and winter's okay, and the spring is wonderful. So welcome, welcome. Now we're just gonna go around the room and everybody say hi, introduce themselves, so you'll be familiar. And so Zav can know everybody also. So Neil, let's just go around the room.
Hi, Neil Batez. I'm a college council member and I work for the Hudson River Estuary Program as a climate team coordinator.
Eleanor Venables, I've been a member since 1996, I think. I've been living here for 54 years. I have a PhD from Brandeis in music history, and that's who I am.
I'm Stella Turk. I'm Vice President for Enrollment Management. I'm here at New Paltz for 31 years. Started out as faculty, tried every other job till I landed with this one. Here I am.
Erica Marks, Vice President for Development and Alumni Relations and Executive Director of the SUNY New Paltz Foundation. And I've been here for 11 years.
My name is Bill McClure. I'm the Provost Vice President for Academic Affairs, and this is the beginning of my second year here.
Dahana Pacheco Dunn. I'm Vice President for Human Resources, Diversity and Inclusion. Have started my 14th year, which seems like really wild. I'm happy to be part of the council.
Michelle Halston, Vice President for Administration and Finance.
It's nice to meet you.
It's our first time. And I've been on the campus for almost 35 years.
I think you went, so I'll go. Kathleen Lieblich, Interim Vice President for Student Affairs, and I'm exactly 1 year and 1 month old here at New Paltz.
Shelley Wright, I'm Vice President for Communication and Chief of Staff. I've been here 28 years, 21 in the President's office, and 7 as a faculty member. I started here as a faculty member.
That's
Do you want to add anything else?
Hi, I'm Xavier. I'm a senior here, finance major. You guys already knew that. Been going here for 4 years. I've been coming here for way longer though. My father is a alumni, so he used to bring me here all the time. Very happy to be here.
And now you
So you
bring
bleed orange and blue, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And your dad is on our alumni council.
Yeah.
He serves on the alumni council.
Okay. Daryl Wheeler, this is the beginning of my third year here as president, and like Mr. Klein down there, I'm Air Force.
And I'm Eli Bosch. I'm the acting chair. I've been involved since the 80s with New Paltz. I'm not an alum, but I am 100% in support of public education. And I say the first step up and do anything I can do to make things better for New Paltz as a university now, for the students, faculty, and staff. And I'm having fun being here. And for the students, this is what we do. We don't have a great deal of responsibility, only on certain things, student handbook, a few other things. And most importantly, the appointment of the president, which I've been through 4 presidential searches over the last close to 40 years. And they've all been different and they've all been terrific. And the institution's done fantastically well. It's been on this trajectory since Alice Chandler put it on a different course, and it's been on that trajectory. And that's probably why you 3 are here. So thank you for coming.
Do you want to do the books online?
Yes, that was
Oh,
Yeah.
Julia, sorry, I can't see that far.
Renee, yeah.
Hello, Julie.
I'm trying for you to see me. Okay, here it is. I'm on a different screen. Sorry. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Renee Padmore Backus. I am a graduate of 1991. I graduated then, but I never left New Paltz. I have been serving in lots of capacities. Presently, I am the representative for the council on the Alumni Council. So that's who I am.
Thank you, Renee. Is there anybody else I missed?
I'm Julie Noble. I am a Sustainability Project Manager for the City of Kingston. I'm a 2003 alumni of Binghamton University, and I'm on the council, the New Paltz Council.
Thank you. Okay, and now I'm a SUNY Albany, which doesn't really compete with New Paltz.
Hey.
But we've got a wonderful education, and I'm a lawyer in Kingston and native of Kingston. I love the Hudson Valley, center of the universe. And with that, I'll ask our president, Dr. Wheeler, to have some remarks.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for joining us today, those of you who are joining us virtually and our in-room guests. So I want to start off with a piece of interesting news that I uncovered, and I use the word uncovered intentionally in September when I was in Chicago for an event. Some of you've seen this already, this newspaper article that actually highlights, and I was at a cousin's house and the paper was there and it said a centuries-old cemetery for people who were enslaved is reclaimed in New York. I'm like, we do that work. So who's doing this work that it's in a paper in Chicago? And at the end of the first column, it says, from the State University of New York at New Paltz. And so it was really, what it speaks to is what I like to talk about as our 2 pillars. It speaks to the rigor and strength of our academic offerings for our students, a great opportunity to showcase the great work of faculty, the connectedness of students to this really important work. And the second pillar, the value added to the citizens of New York. I learned in talking with Shelley that this Associated Press article was picked up by over 300 media sources and has hit 6 continents and probably has a penultimate distribution list well into the millions. And so that's the kind of thing that just as a president brings you joy when you're just there and see this phenomenal work. So I want to start there. A few other highlights. Eli, you already talked about the beginning of the academic year. We've had a very strong academic year, thanks to Stella and her team, a lot of the recruitment efforts, the retention efforts, thanks to the team that reports to Kathleen in residence halls. That's where we've gotten some of our biggest complaints. Because of the great work that Stella and her team has done, we've had to do more triples this year. So that has not been what people were absolutely looking forward to. But I can tell you that from move-in day forward, folks seem to be genuinely happy. Saturday, I went out and saw the women's tennis team. They took all 6 singles and all 3 doubles. So they were very excited. The women's soccer won as well. They were really excited to it was a beautiful day, and there were family members out there, so that's another good thing. Our academic portfolio continues to shape and form. I know that this group is very interested in it. We are getting closer and closer under our provost's leadership to having an application to apply to reopen our nursing program. So we hope to have that application out of the door by the end of this calendar year, but certainly no later than February of next year so that we can seek state approval. There are a number of other really interesting and important academic programs. I know our Venture Hub under the business school dean is doing a lot of phenomenal work and community level work. Tehana and her team in HRDI stay busy as we celebrate and thank our faculty who are coming on board. We onboarded 37 new faculty members. That's the largest number of faculty members to be brought on board in more than a decade, if not longer. And it really speaks to our ability as a campus community to manage our resources, which is what Michelle will talk about a little bit later. If you look around campus, you see facilities work occurring almost in every corner, particularly on quads. And there were some scary stairs on the other side that have been repaired, and that's really good. I know I saw something come through today from construction fund. So for the next several years, you'll continue to see work. And I know that a lot of that is in the purview of the council.
It's never ending in the 40 years.
Never ending in higher ed with appreciation and depreciation of content and value. Eleanor?
I would like to know if the new faculty is replacing people who have retired, or are they new positions?
You can never replace retired faculty. The positions that they vacate, the content that have to be taught, some of them are in those positions, yes. But under the provost, and who has been taking a really deep dive, we talked about this, analyzing where we really need faculty. So this year, we just approved a certain number of faculty lines, and some of those are going into departments that are really bulging at the seams with students and need new faculty lines. Others may be replacement. So we're assigning faculty lines to mission. So where do we need faculty and how will they be best used to help us achieve our institutional mission? And the only person thus far, I think, Erica has done a phenomenal job in leading our foundation and development work. Last year, State University of New York had its single largest non-tuition-based set of gifts come in the history of the university. It exceeded 11.3 million and probably exceeded 11.4 million. Much of that was seeded, a significant portion seeded by the gift from the IBIS group to launch the science of reading. They awarded 6.37 million at the beginning of last year at the start of this fiscal year cycle. And then they came back and gave us another 2 million. We are offering the micro-credential to the entire teaching cadre in the state of Maryland. So 27,500 licenses to get teachers brought to scale on, at least at the micro-credential level, the awareness. So that's very exciting, moving us into a new plane. And all of that culminates in so many ways with our Office of Communications and Marketing that has to take all this great news and to package and channel it in ways that make sense for the world around us, whether it's education, et cetera. We are working with our college community on helping to address issues of cultural climate and engagement, wanting to make sure that we're supporting issues of free speech, free expression, the protection of Title IX, the protection of Title VI rights, and that work is always ongoing. So the university is involved in lots of things in lots of directions, but as you astutely point out, Eli, incrementally always moving in a direction to make sure that this institution thrives well into the future. So you can have a short-term view, but the goal is for this university to be vibrant 50 years from now and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Okay. And I would say the horizon and goal is infinite for New Paltz. And it's on that trajectory. And it just keeps going. in the right direction. And I'm a Kingston native, and I've just seen the evolution, and not, in New Paltz, and then it's in Ulster County, and then it's the Mid-Hudson Valley, and it just keeps getting larger and larger and in every way. And it's support to businesses, it's education to students, culturally, bringing really raising the culture, intellectual level of the Mid-Hudson Valley as well in a very diverse way, safely. And the beautification of the campus continues. It's hard to imagine how it continues to evolve, and we're a special place. And Albany and the powers that be recognize it. And I think that it just has momentum, and we're continuing in that direction. And we're all here to help to make it better. And your leadership is appreciated. And I say, the leader, you lead not only by example, but you'll lead through hard work, commitment, and vision. And it's very obvious. And every president's been different in different ways and brought different talents, and all have been terrific. And it's interesting to see it evolve. And you started out of the blocks fast, and you're hit your stride. And it's never ending, one thing after another. But that's what it is. It's challenging and interesting, just like it is for the students. It just keeps coming at you. And that's what that's called? Life. And so enjoy it. Now, something more mundane, which doesn't interest me, Michelle, but we go over this thing called the budget, which we have very little influence in. But Erica and others try to make through philanthropy a little bit easier. But we'll see how the state's help participating and see how we're doing with spending.
Okay, now, if I can get this to work, share. All right, oops. Julie and Renee, can you see PowerPoint? Because I'm not seeing it actually. Where did it go?
No, ma'am.
No?
No, oh yeah, we do now.
Okay, all right. So it's being a little temperamental today, so bear with me. So it's the computer and me being temperamental, to clarify. Okay, so Xavier, since this is your first time here on council, I'll just give you a brief run through of what we do here at every meeting. SUNY New Paltz's council is actually the first council in the SUNY system to have started to receive regular budget updates. Since it wasn't started by me, it was started by two predecessors before me. We've been providing information on our largest fund, which we have 4 funds, all with distinct characteristics, revenues, and expenses. But we provide information on the core operating fund, which is based in tuition and just a little bit of fees. And it supports most of the faculty all of the faculty on campus and some of the administration expenses on the campus. In addition to that, we talk about, depending on the time of year, we talk about the state budget process and what that might look like for SUNY and our overall fiscal health. So I'm just going to move our friends down to the corner here. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Xavier is like, what are you talking about? But anyway, look up Dirty Dancing. Okay, so today's goal is understanding how fiscal year 23-24 ended. So that ended in June. And then to refresh our memories on the state budget outcomes of last year and what that means to us for this year. Compare our budgets from last year to this year to see if we've moved the needle at all. Provide a cash balance update, and then talk about charting our path forward to fiscal sustainability.
You have to click it.
Yeah. Or not.
Or not.
I told you, being temperamental. Okay, here we go. So this is a lot of numbers. Don't pay attention to the numbers. You will get this in your packets next time. But this is the almost end of fiscal year 23-24. In state finance, we have a 15-month fiscal year. So we are currently in the lapsing period and we're just basically tying up all the loose ends and paying some last minute expenditures. On the income side of the house, the revenue side of the house, we exceeded our targets for the year by about 1%, always good. The state support that we were expecting from the state funneled through SUNY system administration actually came in higher than we anticipated at the beginning of the year. And that's part of what came out of the state budget was an advance of this current fiscal year, 24-25's to 23-24 to pay some retroactive raises. So they just basically took something that they would distribute in July and distributed in June, so it crossed fiscal years. So it makes it look like they gave us 8% more, but it was just an advance. So revenues came in $2 million higher than we anticipated at the beginning of the year. And our expenditures came in $3 million lower. A lot of that was due to utilities being a lot lower than we anticipated in the beginning of the year. That's a function of both the commodity cost and the usage, which both are good. The prices in the previous fiscal year were really high and they came down significantly last year. But the biggest savings came in the form of personnel. So we, over the last 2 years, have seen an inordinate amount of searches go unfilled. We haven't been able to get our recruitment up to snuff. We think that part of it is just lack of labor force in the area. But then also we do have a challenge with our salaries being competitive. So we're currently working to see if we can address that to get, while labor shortages are good for the pocketbook, they are not good for the people who work here because it makes us very cranky. My hair used to be black last year, but so long story short, our projected deficit in the beginning of the year was $8.5 million for this fund, but we really ended up at $3.7 million. So definitely moving in the right direction. And I don't know why this will look better on your presentation that you received, but I just wanted to point out that the star up here by the 108% is the retroactive raise calculation that SUNY did. All right, so that was last year. So again, we did $5 million better than we anticipated doing in the beginning of the year. So the state fiscal year starts in April 1st. And the state enacted budget played out favorably for SUNY for the second year in a row. We received another $2.1 million in salary money for this year. We also received another $128,000 for internship opportunities for our students for this year. Unfortunately, on Scott's side, welcome to the campus, we saw a minor decrease in our critical maintenance funding of just under $1 million for this year. But that doesn't mean our big projects aren't progressing. It's just the critical maintenance, the patch and paint kind of money. And then in other direct funding, we received $150,000 for the Benjamin Center, continuation of operations there. And in addition to the IBIS funding that we received for the Science of Reading micro-credential, we received another $1 million from the State University for this program. So now looking from budget to budget, the left-hand column, it represents last fiscal year and what we budgeted at the beginning of that year. And the right hand, the middle column represents this fiscal year. So one of our plans toward fiscal sustainability is to increase our enrollment. With enrollment, tuition revenue generation is our largest revenue generator on campus. We know that if we increase our enrollment, we will increase our bottom line. So Stella and her team have been working really hard to go out there, beat the bushes, get some more students in the door. And We projected an increase in tuition and fee revenue of $1.5 million. In addition, the previous slide for the state enacted budget increases totaled $2.2 million. So in all, we hope to increase our income by $3.8 million, almost $4 million. On the expenditure side, we are seeing increases in the personal service expense because there are contractually negotiated increases in salaries that we must pay for. So that's what part of the state money was for, of about $4 million. So there are a couple of components here. There are across the board increases for the collective bargaining units, but there are also some longevity. What are we calling them these days? Is it
Payments.
longevity payments? So there are lump sums that are going in here. So they're one-time costs, but they bump up the salary components a little bit more than the 3% across the boards. We're anticipating a slight increase in temporary service. Most of the temporary service comprises the adjunct salaries. So the temporary faculty that we have, they also got salary increases, which is good. Try to keep them competitive. We kept our utilities budgeted at the same number, even though we came in substantially lower than budget last year, because we are anticipating local utilities to increase some of their costs of the commodity substantially. So we kept that budgeted number there. And due to the good works of my colleagues around the table and their folks, we did manage, excuse me, to reduce the supplies, contracts, and equipment part of the budget by about $250,000. So all in all, when those things play out, we did see an increase in the deficit, not the right way to go when you're looking at closing a gap, but it is a pretty minor increase in the deficit. And just wanted to point out the star at the bottom is initial revenue reports. We're still in the very beginnings of the semester. Initial revenue reports indicate that we're pretty close to meeting that revenue target. There are still some things that I won't get into because they're complicated. I call them innies and outies. It's a very sophisticated financial term, but there are a lot of things that go in and out of the revenue components throughout the semester. They will be settled in about December. Some of those are scholarship dollars that we use to pay scholarships on campus. It's a function of how many students actually accept and enroll here. And then there are things like overseas academic programs that may be tuition, but it gets moved to another fund. So they're just technical things. So at the end of this November, early December, all of those numbers will be in and we'll be able to really clearly see if we met that revenue target or not, but we are real close. So this is just a quick slide to show you our all funds cash balance. So while I just showed you the state offset, the main fund on the previous pages, this includes all funds, including our residence hall fund. So to mirror the president's point before that our residence halls are full and actually over full. If I were to show you that same slide with all the numbers for the residence hall fund, we are 8% over what we had in revenue for the residence halls last year. Part of that's a function of a revenue of a rate increase, but the other part is that we were undersubscribed last year. We are oversubscribed this year. So a difference of about 350 students in those halls. So we're glad to see them full again, but Kathleen's team has their work cut out for them. So,
Michelle?
Yes.
Why do you think we are over this year?
In residence halls?
Yeah.
Mostly, some of it has to do with the post-pandemic students coming back to campus. Some of it is that, but some of it also is the fact that we are actively recruiting more students. And I think Stella can correct me, the transfer numbers are higher.
We've had more transfer students who want to live in the residence halls than ever before. and we couldn't accommodate all of them. And I think one of the big reasons, and Kathleen, correct me if I'm wrong, is we had a higher than anticipated number of continuing students that wanted to live in the residence halls. So that taken together with a healthy first-year class, transfer class, and continuing students has really pushed the resident hall occupancy.
Is that a function of how high rents are?
Or how difficult it is to find housing in New York.
Yeah, we do have both all offline.
Or how great we're doing in
Yeah.
our, right?
Right.
Yeah, there's a number of factors there, but we have been at these rates before, and the spaces that are being occupied as triples are designated as having that sort of space. So it's it is a nice problem to have, but then we have less flexibility to move people when we need to, but we deal with those things and just like you see, we have students coming back, so they're still here.
And there's been an upgrade.
When we get the halls back online, they are beautiful.
And we do have one full building offline that would normally, and that's for deferred maintenance, so we don't have deferred maintenance to continue ongoing like we talked about.
Right. So again, going back to this slide, this is our cash balance, and the red star indicates where we ended up last fiscal year, which is represented by the yellow bar. The previous fiscal year was in the gray. So how did we end up with more cash at the end of a year when we needed to use almost $4 million of reserve, you ask? Well, it's because the other funds are represented in here. And I think I shared with you last year that we did borrow $5 million for some res hall rehab. So that is in our cash. So they deposited the loan in our bank account. And so that makes it look like we are a little bit higher. All in all, we still have a really healthy cash balance, but we've got to get that state, the revenue offset or the core operating fund to balance so that we can move forward. Okay, so that's cash. So charting the path forward, getting that budget to balance. What do we need to do? Our president, in his State of the University address this year, see, Daryl, I do listen, I do. He used three, he charted out his goals for the year. And one of the three goals is financial sustainability. I don't know why I have a problem with that word. But in a recent cabinet meeting, he also used these three great words. And I think each one of us in cabinet think that we're going to weave them into our work somehow this year. But it's responsibility, accountability, and authority. So he has the goal of financial sustainability. My goal, one of my goals for the upcoming year is communicating that shared responsibility toward fiscal sustainability. I will soon be putting out a communication that uses all three of those words. How? I don't know yet, but basically we're just going to reiterate to the campus community who has the authority to approve expenditures, whose responsibility is to ensure that we're spending state dollars in the right manner. My premise is that we're all responsible and we're all accountable. So we may not all have the authority to sign that check to spend the money, but we're all responsible and accountable for thinking about the best ways to utilize student and state funds. So those are the communications that will be soon coming out of my office. And then the campus contribution, all of my colleagues around the table and their direct reports and staff members, they will be responsible for doing regular quarterly reporting by their own division. So they're going to be looking at, be providing reports for them from my office, but they'll be looking at that and going, okay, here's where we were last year. Here's where we are this year. What's different? What's changed? What's the same? And how can we make it better? How can we improve fiscal stance so that we can save enough money, be responsible spenders so that we have enough money to invest in new initiatives that are coming down the pike. So that is my quick report. More questions?
Any questions?
Let me open up, Julie, so I can see if you are raising hands here. Hang on.
Question.
Yeah.
About the enrollment, can someone speak to what actions are being taken to increase enrollment and also how that number of, what is the anticipated, how many new enrollees are you hoping for and how does that number landed on?
Oh, that's easy. I can handle that. And I say that completely sarcastically. So we are engaged in a number of initiatives to increase enrollment. Some of them are a continuation of ones that we started last year and some of them are new. So last year, one of the initiatives was what we call the academic considerations cohort. So this is bringing in students that have a slightly lower, maybe 1 or 2 point GPA, offering them supports while they're here, and then building a cohort out of those students. With that new cohort, we brought in 40 new students. We've also started with the help of a grant from SUNY System to offer the ACE program. This is Accelerate to Complete Through Engagement. So this is a program that has directed advising to increase retention and graduation rate. So enrollment not only increases with new students, but it also increases with retaining the students that you have. Although our retention rate is fairly high, especially compared to the national average, we can always do better. We're targeting a 4% increase in retention in all categories, not just first-year students. So the ACE program is helping us to do that right now with 185 students with advisors. It has financial supports for those students as well. A few other things that we're looking at is the way we market to our students. We've created a student journey map with more intentional types of communications dependent upon whether it's an inquiry, whether it's a student who has applied, whether it's a student who is accepted but not yet deposited. We're starting those communications early in the sophomore year of high school. So the initial outreach is starting really early. That's when the parents, but not the students, are engaged in shopping for college. We've started a parent web portal to actually provide information to families so that they're aware of some of the information that we're giving to students so they can support us in all of the efforts, academic, retention, all student success efforts. New initiatives that we're looking at this year, some of the things that we're thinking about are those adult students, bringing them back into the fold, having programs that are more flexible so that we're not just looking at a market that is diminishing in size for the students in the Northeast, but we're also expanding to other types of learners, also out-of-state learners where the tuition, our out-of-state tuition is a favorable match to their in-state tuition. There are several states that are like that, marketing to those populations. We also have, I can go on, I'll give you one more and then we can talk. We're also marketing our accelerated program. This is like a 4+1 program. So students who come here for 4 years in their 5th year can get a master's. We're marketing to our own students to let them know the marketing campaign is coming out, I think, in a week, to let them know that there are these 20 undergraduate majors that could lead to a graduate major, save you 1 year of graduate tuition and give you a master's in an extra year, 5 years at New Paltz. So we'll market that not only to our students, but make it a value added for those who apply to New Paltz. So those are some of the things that we're working on.
Julie, I want to add to that because I think it was implied, but I want to be very explicit about it, that the efforts just described by Stella are really part of a larger intentional approach from this table that I've been really blessed to have the team accept and buy into my vision for this. Much greater alignment across all 7 of the VP areas. That what you're seeing is a work that integrates and aligns the work from finance, human resources, academics, student affairs, marketing, enrollment, and foundation work. That we at the table are clearly bringing to this table in our regular meetings an intentional focus that the VPs know what each unit is doing, that we are accountable and responsible for driving the goals that are set, and then for supporting one another to achieve the goals. And all of those are always set, and there's the notebook again, against the two pillars for why this institution exists. But I think that's another driver here, that everybody is striving for academic excellence from beginning to end, and how do you contribute to that, and the value added to the citizens of New York and beyond. That if we're not striving for those two things, no dollars should be spent unless you can align to one of those two or both. And I think that shift and how we make that explicit gets us into different discussions about how do we drive enrollment. So Shelley and her team are intimately involved with the marketing campaigns that go on. Erica has done a wonderful job of analyzing how scholarships support student engagement and retention. Hannah and her team are working with all of us to make sure we got the right people, that we can onboard them, and then Student Affairs does some of everything. So again, there's nothing that the team isn't doing that is coordinated in a way. And I don't know if it's a new way, but it's the only way I know how to do leadership. And I think we are starting to see some of the emergent benefits of this way of approaching it. So I just want to celebrate the team for engaging in that level of intentional work, which I know has been a shift. And I don't always get it, note perfect each time we have a meeting, but I know we're moving in the right direction.
Good.
So I think that's a really good approach. Oftentimes people think that they're competing against each other, and that if one department gets something, someone else doesn't, and it's a net zero, whereas we're all benefiting by working together towards the same goal. So that's a very good approach. Thank you.
Team, but there's always the leader, and the whole thing I did, like the Giants, and what was different one year to the next, the only thing was different was the coach.
Yeah.
Same talent pool, and not that they won big, they just won by a point here, a point there. And but at the end, the bottom line is you're better. But it's a team approach, goes down, but comes up, but up alignment, and everybody pulls together in a team, and everybody helps each other, when you say compete, but the flip side is help each other. And it really, it doesn't, maybe not immediate, but long-term benefit. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens. And about out of state and international.
International's down a bit. International is down compared to last year. Some of it was a bump from students who, some of it was a bump up from students who waited to come back after COVID and after previous presidential administration. But we've seen some of that,
because I know it has some influence on income.
Well, yes, I think, but so you asked international, you asked about out of state. Out of state, I think we're seeing a bump up in New Jersey particularly. They were the ones in particular that we had a larger group. Connecticut is to follow. We have a tuition match for 9 states. And most of the states we get onesies, twosies, but New Jersey, I think we're seeing the greatest. I think it was up 29%.
And Michelle, sounds good, and Selma sounds good. And it isn't like the wind is at the back, the wind is in the face academically. With, college enrollment. So to do well, it's really much harder. You're going uphill, you're not rolling downhill or even on a level playing field. It's challenging environment, but like most things, best of breed, the quality really, and that's what it's all about. It's a quality institution. And it's because of the leadership here and every one of you vice presidents and everybody right on down. And the students are ambassadors as well, right? And I really mean that. And then we're all kind of ambassadors, which I look at the College Council as to be accurate, but certainly be positive. And there is plenty of praises to be said and told. And the story is great. And it over time it enhances even in income. And balance the budget.
Julie's got a hand up.
Julie?
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to, thank you for that description. It sounds like there's clearly a lot of work going on. How does that all interface with the fact that you mentioned that the residence halls are currently bulging? That you have people in triples?
So, such a good question. And if you have magic, we're looking for it. We're meeting this month to go through, what went right and what went wrong, in housing. Knowing that next year we'll continue to have this as an issue with the expected another residence hall coming down, even though one is coming back online. There are several things that we're looking at. One is potentially to look at other areas where we can house students. Are there hotels? And we have to start that process now because we have to go through a procurement process. Also looking at non-traditional students. So they, another area who won't be looking for housing here, offering potentially things in other formats where students can take courses, not live here. But we are mostly a residential institution. I think there's not a feeling that we really want to change from that, just maybe expand from that. And also I know that we're also looking at a software program that may help match students with landlords and also build, rental opportunities.
Yeah, that was one of the points I was going to make, is that we are exploring that to better connect our students and not just say, hey, go look at a Facebook page. We want to have a more concrete relationship where we can forward students to that. And then additionally, it's important to note, well before my time here, our halls have been this full and fuller. So, we aren't not following fire codes. We aren't not following the space that is possible for students to be living in. We just haven't had to utilize a space that could have been a triple because we haven't had enough students to do so. And so being in that space where we are able to fill those spaces is obviously good for Michelle and for all of us, but it's not an unprecedented situation or circumstances for us here at New Paltz. And again, I say that too with clarity that I was not here at that time, but from the numbers.
Stella, the one thing you didn't mention, graduate enrollment.
Oh, yes. Our graduate enrollment was a big surprise in a very positive way. Our continuing undergraduates is up by about 8%. And our new undergraduates is up by double digits, I think 10, 11, or 12%. That was a welcome surprise. We have some ideas on why this happened for us. One certainly is not a surprise. St. Rose has closed. We've taken on those students, but it doesn't account for all the additional enrollments. We also have one fine and performing arts program that only accepts students every other year. That also helped for the bump, but it doesn't explain it all. So we know that there's some changes in marketing. Shelley could speak to a little bit that we think was much more intentional and targeted, that potentially had an impact. So that's a very pleasant and welcome surprise.
Yeah, and historically, we are not at the enrollment level, headcount enrollment level that we've been at, at our peak, which was about 8,000 students, right? We usually run a little bit under that, and so there is room for growth within current infrastructure.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Thanks. And I do want to just comment, I wasn't making any judgment about the triples. I feel I lived in a triple my entire time at Binghamton, and I feel like that's my college experience. So.
Do you want to come to campus more?
Yeah, I think, as we were hearing about it, and of course there was a lot of upset, but then we started to hear stories from parents. Yeah, I was tripled. Yeah, so it's not unique, but when it's you or your student, you're not expecting it.
It was just a shift from where we've been at historically in the past few years.
Thank you, Selma. So we're doing good, huh?
Yeah.
Really good. Is there any other questions? Any other old business? Any new business? I want to thank you all. Do a great job. It's just wonderful to be affiliated with New Paltz. You get some of that stardust. We all enjoy it. Masters and working hard. I know it's the beginning of the year and there's challenges, but I know everybody's up to it, right? And we have a meeting scheduled for November 14th. Hope to see you all there and hope things is going as well. And I would call for a motion to adjourn.
I motion so.
Second? Yes, is it? All in favor? See you in November if I don't see you before. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eli.